Hi, me. There's nothing like getting 30 minutes into a video that you're recording and accidentally hitting a button on your tablet and causing the video to stop. If I had electricity in the bus, that would not be an issue because I could just put the videos together on my desktop. I don't have electricity in the bus. I do have my desktop here, and I can use the desktop, but I have to. My Jackery right now is out in the van charging through the solar panel. I put the solar panel on top of the van, and then I put the Jackery inside the van and charge it that way. And so I drained it completely last night, so right now there's not enough electricity on it to use the desktop, which means that the video that I made, just the 30 minutes or whatever a video that I just made, basically I can't use unless I want to wait for the Jackery to completely charge, which will be another 2 days unless I bring it with me to Starbucks when I go to Starbucks later today. And if I sound frustrated, I am frustrated, and this was the part of the reason why I was making the video that I just got cut off from in the first place. But it's not frustration with making videos, and it's not really frustration that I was going to talk about, but frustration is certainly related to what I'm talking about. But where I had gotten in the previous video that I was recording, I always look better in the mirror than I do on the screen. I don't know what that's about. Do I need to hold the thing further away? Does holding it right up against my face make me look ugly? Distort my proportions, I should say. Is this distorting my proportion? Is that why I don't like it? The light is different. That's a little bit closer to what I actually see in the mirror. I'm holding the tablet. Right in front of the mirror. So now doing it that way, I actually look more like I do in the mirror. So I don't know if you can see how different that me looks from that me. That was a joke. But that was a joke. But yeah, so where I was going with the previous video, where I'd gotten to, I should say, because I don't want to go through all this again. But currently, I'm in a fairly I'm hesitant to use the word bad. I'm hesitant to use the word bad, and that is because of just spiritual teachings that I've learned or read. I shouldn't say learned because I haven't. I don't know that they're true, but that's what I mean by learned, I guess, is actually knowing. Maybe I should study Greek philosophy because I do believe that they cover these sorts of various states of knowledge. I think like they have a word for something you learn in a book versus something you learn through experience and these sorts of things, like gnosis and episteme. Like when it comes to gnosis, knowing something like through having actually lived it or knowing it or experiencing it, that's where I'm not at with what I was about to say. So I've read about it in a book, and it sounds true. It's not really a claim. It's not a claim. It's more of a prescription. So the prescription is to not judge things as good or bad situations. When I first heard that, it was in a story where yeah, I am frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm about to throw my tablet across the bus. Let's see. I'm gonna go make some coffee and see if that helps at all. My head, like right now, my head feels like a boiling pot of water, almost. It feels like when you see cartoons, when they have like steam coming out their ears and out their eyes or whatever, that's about what I feel like at the moment. I don't have any water to boil in my pot, and to go get water, I have to go out to the van and open the door, which means I have to put the tablet down, because I don't have any water in the bus. I don't actually have to put the tablet down, so you can come with me. I do have to somehow. So this is what I'm not gonna say this is why. But just to use my own situation here as an example of what I was reading, not to judge your situation as good or bad. Why? So, what did I just do? Did I just judge my situation as bad? This fact that I have no water in my, I have some. I don't have enough water to make a cup of coffee. So I'm in the middle of making a video, and which means I could potentially have to stop this video again. This is already my second attempt at making the video. So is that a bad situation? Well, I'm gonna have to go outside to the van and get water. Maybe that's a good situation. Maybe because for me having to go out to the van to get water, maybe somebody will drive by and see me, and they'll come over here and start talking to me, and offer me a job. I'm not saying that will happen. What I'm saying is that that was the point of what I've this teaching that I was reading about. Not to judge situations as good or bad. And of course the whole fact of me having to make the same video twice. In my own experience, I've made videos 5 times before, and on the 5th one, that ended up being the best one. So I was like cursing the fact that I kept messing up in the first few, but then you might say by messing up, I ended up with something better than what I originally hoped to get. So that's kind of that teaching. I'm not why you shouldn't judge things as good or bad, because something that seems bad might end up resulting in something good. But it's pointless to judge the good thing as good, because it might then result in something bad, and you end up in this kind of pointless cycle of judging things, basically. So this is where I get my water from when I want to make coffee or wash my dishes. Why do I keep it out here in the van? I'm not entirely sure. I think, at least for washing dishes, I prefer to have it out there, because I don't like to wash dishes inside the bus. Because I don't have a drain, for one, and I like to just be able to throw the dirty dishwater onto the ground. So maybe that's my reason. So now we have to set up the coffee pot. So why am I frustrated? One is that I'm judging my situation as bad. That is one. That I'm in a situation that I just don't want to be in. I feel like this bus. I like living in the bus. I shouldn't say I like living in the bus. I like how the bus is. I feel like the bus could be a really good place to live. I especially like that, like it's mobile. That's one of my favorite things about it is I could possibly drive it around, but right now I can't drive it around. I don't have insurance on it. The brakes have gone bad. They still work, but just not very well. The alternator on the bus is apparently no good. The fuel gauge is stuck, things like that. So I have no air conditioning inside the bus. I have no electricity inside the bus when the bus is not running. Even when it is running, I don't have there's no 12 volt adapter to, say, charge something by the bus. I could potentially use the bus as a generator to run my desktop in the back, but there is no, I don't have like a port. There's no jack or anything up here, and I'm in this parking lot in the shopping center where there's hotels over here. I don't know if you can see that, and then a motel back that way. You probably can't see it, where poor people live and they're constantly walking by. I'm actually surprised I have not had anything stolen yet, but this just seems like a bad situation. This seems like a situation that I want to get away from. And like I read about that teaching that not judging situations is good or bad. I've always also heard about the Stoic teaching of amor fati. That is AMOR. First word, second word FATI. It's a Latin. It means love of fate. It means to love your fate, basically. That's not something that I completely understand because of this. I already have this confusion about what exactly fate is, probably from Christianity, because the way that I understood fate outside of Christianity was that fate is something you just can't avoid. It's like the Oedipus story where the king has a son and he goes to the the priest or the prophets or whatever, and this person, this witch or sorcerer or whatever he was, says to the king, your son is going to grow up, he's going to kill you and marry your wife. And so the king takes his son and throws him out in the woods, or leaves him out in the woods. The son is picked up by is it a wolf or something, I think? I can't remember the exact details of the story. Is raised up, and whoever raises him is like the person who lives up in that castle up there is an evil tyrant. And of course it's his father, so then the Oedipus, the boy who was abandoned, goes back to the castle to kill this evil tyrant who was his father, kills him, and then marries his wife. What is the point of that story? Is fate is unavoidable. The king tried to avoid his fate. He rejected his fate, and it came true anyways. He abandoned his son in an attempt to steer fate his way, and it came back to him either way. So that was kind of my understanding of fate. But then when I started getting into Christianity and trying to interpret what exactly the point of, like, say, the New Testament is, the way that I saw that is you have a fate, but you don't have to accept it. You can deny your fate, but to deny your fate is what it means to be dead. So in even in the Old Testament and the New Testament, you have this idea of spiritual death and spiritual life. So, like, for example, in in the New Testament, there are plenty of passages where Jesus talks about life as something that most people don't have. So, just for example, he says that small is the gate, narrow is the path that leads to life, and they are few who find it. So, people might debate about what that means. If you look up the Greek word where that comes from, that's translated from, because the New Testament was, as far as anybody knows, was originally written in Greek. That word is Zoe. Zoe. I don't know I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Zoe. That word means true life, and it also means a life that belongs only to God. And a genuine life, true life, and then another word that's translated as life in the New Testament from Greek is psyche. So when Jesus says, "Whoever tries to save their psyche," in English, it's usually translated as life. You could also translate that as soul or mind, because that's where we get, in English, that's where we get the word psyche from in psychology. So he says, "Whoever tries to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." So essentially what he's saying is that if you try to save your psyche, you will never find Zoe. And if you lose your psyche for Jesus' sake, you will find Zoe. Which is how I interpret the Gospel of John, where it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." Now that may sound like what he means is that you will live forever, but the word in that case is Zoe. It's not psyche, so it's everlasting Zoe. And but what is the only begotten Son of God? Was it the man who walked on the earth, or is it the eternal Word? So that is my interpretation of that, because that comes after that whole passage about the Word. That the Gospel of John starts off with, "In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Through him all things were created, not a thing was created but through him." And then in him was life, that life was the light of all mankind. So he's talking about the Word that was with God from the beginning. He says, "In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind." And I believe that the next line, and maybe a few lines later, but he's still, as far as I can tell, he's still talking about the Word, not Jesus. And people may say Jesus and the Word are the same thing, but I don't see it that way. I see it as there's the Word, and then there was Jesus, who was, you might say, a manifestation of the Word made flesh. And but the Word is the only begotten Son of God, not Jesus. And if you want evidence for that, look at the original idea of the Holy Trinity. Originally, the idea of the Holy Trinity was that the Word, the Trinity is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But if you look it up in, I think the first mention in the Bible, it's not in all Bibles because some Bibles are different than others, but I think in, I forget which version it was, maybe it was the King James, there's a mention of the Holy Trinity, but they don't call it the Holy Trinity, they just say Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. I think is what they say. So the Word, in that case, is in the place of the Son. What am I getting at? The Word is God's will, basically, or you might say fate. It is the law that kind of makes things happen the way they happen, that makes the universe the way it is. And so when that, in the Bible where it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son," it basically means that God sacrificed his will because he loved you. He wanted you to have your own will. He wanted you to be free to do whatever you wanted. But if you accept the will that God has for you, then you will have the life, the real life. So that is how I see from fate from the Christian perspective. Of course, they don't call it fate, but that was kind of my idea of what would be called fate, is God's will for you, what you were, you might say, meant to do, your purpose in life. You look to, say, Greek philosophy, the logos, the idea of the logos, the Word, word in the Bible is a translation of logos. So if you look up the logos in Greek philosophy, you'll see that the idea that it is through the logos that men have purpose. Without the logos, they have no purpose. They're basically just purposeless, directionless animals. And so that's kind of where I got that from. I'm boiling water. I forgot to close the thing here. Apparently I put too much water. Is that related to this talk? It is related to this talk. This is currently partly where I'm at the moment. One is just this whole confusion about, like, what is God's will for me? That sort of thing. How do I know what God's will for me is? If the way to life is for me to accept God's will for me, how do I know what God's will for me is? You know, it's not written in the Bible. When people will say, well, you need to accept Jesus as your Savior, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, well, how do I accept Jesus as my Savior? How do I know? I mean, if I were to say, well, Jesus is talking to me through my head, how do I know what voice in my head is Jesus? You know, if it's like if people say, well, let Jesus take the wheel, how do I know Jesus is taking the wheel? How do I, what the fuck, you know? No, but that is not the point of this talk. Really, that is related to it. That is partly kind of where I'm at the moment. As far as so this is what I would say is kind of the problem. The problem is I don't like my life. I feel like I have no purpose. I feel like I've said it in previous videos or a previous video, that my purpose in life right now is to find my purpose in life. According to Facebook, Mark Twain said that the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Is like I have just been kind of obsessed with finding this, the reason why I'm here. My reason to get out of bed in the morning. Right now, my reason to get out of the bed in the morning is to make sure that I don't starve to death. And that to me is not, that's not good. To make sure that I don't starve to death, and to try to, right now, my journey, my seeking is seeking through the gender. That I feel like I've had this life that was basically pointless. I'm 46 years old currently. So basically the two reasons I have to get out of bed in the morning are, like, one is to make sure that I don't starve to death, and then two is to try to resolve this issue. And to see if this leads me to a more enjoyable life, a life that feels like it has purpose, a life that feels like it has, I hate to use these words like purpose and meaning, because I feel like they get used so often that they almost become meaningless. But that is the problem, is that I just feel like I'm just not enjoying life. I feel like I'm not living. For one, I do believe in God, and I feel like the life that I've lived so far is not worthy of God. I feel like I have done God wrong by I almost see it as like God gave me a gift. It was, like a gift you get on Christmas, where it was wrapped up in a, wrapping with a bow and that sort of thing. And I don't know what's in the box, but I'm just like, fuck that. I'm not gonna go do what I want, as I was talking about before. It's like, well, God gave you this thing here, but He loves you, so He's saying, go do whatever you want. And that's kind of what I've been doing in a way, where I'm just like, fuck the present. And that is probably a good segue into this whole talk about living in the present, not living in the future, that sort of thing. Because that is one of the things that I am conflicted about. Did I run out of propane? Or did I just turn the thing off? I guess I just turned it off. I must have too much water in here. So if you study spirituality and religion, you will hear a lot of people talking about, it was done, not living in the future. Living in the present moment. Even Jesus says something like to the effect of, take no worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own. Do not worry about what you will wear. Consider the lilies in the field and all that sort of thing. And to some degree, that is kind of my conflict at the moment. One of the reasons why I feel frustrated. So I mentioned the concept of amor fati. I don't know if I ever actually described what it means. I did say that it means to love your fate, but I'm not entirely sure what it means by love your fate. So I don't know if that means just love this unavoidable story. It's almost like if fate is like this unavoidable kind of this storyline of your life, this thread. I think people often call it like a thread of fate because it's like the thread of a story. And so like right now I'm in a bus in a parking lot in a shopping center. Perhaps this is where I'm meant to be. Maybe this is just the thread of the story, and there's nothing I can do about it. And the only thing for me to do about it is just to love the fact that I'm here. But I don't know if that's what amor fati means, because like I said, I don't know if amor fati means to love my situation, because is this my fate? Is this what I am fated to do? It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't. Like if the logos is what gives man purpose, and the logos is fate, then I don't feel like I'm living any purpose here. I feel like there is no. What I feel like is I'm just like, if a car has purpose, and the purpose is to drive, but the car is sitting up, here not going anywhere, the car is not living its purpose. But that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm just not doing anything. So that's where I'm a little bit like when it comes to loving my fate, as the Stoics put it, I'm just like, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean to love the logos? Or does it mean to love just where I'm at? Does it mean to love kind of the present moment? If you haven't noticed, my throat is almost always dry when I make these videos. I am dehydrated at the moment, according to my piss. My piss is the color of whiskey almost every day, so which, if you don't know, means you're dehydrated. The darker your pee is, the more dehydrated you are. So yeah, my head feels a little bit fuzzy at the moment. Back to the coffee. So loving my fate, living in the present moment, these are things that are on my mind. And but like I said, I don't like the situation I'm in. What I feel like at the moment is I do have, aside from this kind of conflict between this need I have to live in the present and to take care of myself, that is one conflict, you might say, because I do want to kind of not just live in the present, but actually look at the present, to see, to stop thinking about what I need to do from the traditional, habitual. When I say traditional, I mean like my own tradition, like the way that I've always done things. For example, the way I've always done things in the past. When I got put on suspension from NC State in 1995, I came back to live with my dad and his wife, and it was like, well, I need money, so I'm just gonna go get a job somewhere, and that's pretty much how it's been ever since then. It's like I need money, so I'm gonna go get a job, and I don't deliberate on that. I don't look at the present. I don't look and see what options are there. Is there something else I can do? It's like I just take the path of least resistance. I'm like, I'm not going to put any effort into thinking about what I could possibly do. I'm just going to go with the obvious, and so that is one of the things when I say look at the present. That's what I'm talking about, because there might be something right in front of me that could change my life. Could take me in a direction that I never thought I would go. And that is one of the reasons why the not judging the moment as good or bad, I feel like, is important in this case, because by judging the situation as bad and saying, well, I just need to get out of here, I need to go find a job somewhere, I could be totally overlooking something right under my nose. And yeah, so that I am kind of being pulled in two directions by that. There's this, like today, I don't know if I mentioned it already in this video, that I am unemployed. But let me just go back and throw in what I meant to throw in earlier, that I'm also kind of conflicted between this need to take care of myself and the need to resolve the gender question, because I do, my assumption, my theory, my idea, my notion is that the gender thing is one of the reasons why I've struggled so much in my life. And so I feel like that needs to be resolved before anything else. That I could go get another job right now, but it's just going to slow me down more. So today, I just applied for a job at QT, thinking that to me felt like the right thing to do. Almost the next day or the day after, it didn't feel like the right thing to do. What felt like the right thing to do was go apply for a job at Starbucks, because I had spent the day at Starbucks and was just kind of enjoying that environment of diversity is welcome. I don't know if it's the same at all Starbucks, but the Starbucks, pretty much every Starbucks I've been to has this kind of like diversity is welcome here. Like the store that I was just at in Concord, North Carolina, had a trans person working there. I've seen 2 trans people in that store since I've been hanging out there, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like QT is more of a straight-laced, has that kind of conservative, like, we're not interested in being artistic, we're not interested in being free, we are here to sell gas and food and drinks and that sort of thing. We're not here to make political statements or anything like that. Now, I don't want a job to make political statements, but I do like the idea of being... Are there fire ants in my bus? There are fire ants outside my bus. And so I applied for the job at QT, kind of almost immediately, I wouldn't say immediately regretted it, but almost. And kind of wavering on that still. Like, they sent me a text QT sent me a text from their corporate office, said, respond to this text with the time and date that you want to come to our corporate office in Charlotte to interview. But I don't know if I've said it or not. I have 2 vehicles. I have the bus and I have the van outside where I just got the water from. Neither of these have insurance, so I can't drive them. I could. I've already gotten 2 tickets from driving the van without insurance, and I don't want a third. I don't know how many tickets I can get before they just take my driving license and or put me in jail. So I called the corporate office yesterday at Starbucks, and while I was at Starbucks, and said, can you please allow me to do the interview at the store that I want to work at, because I had been told by one of the employees there that is where I would do the interview. And I told them that. I said, one of your employees told me that I would do the interview at the store where I want to work. And I said, my car right now doesn't have insurance, so that is why I would rather do it there. And the lady was like, yeah, well, I'll contact a recruiter. They'll contact you back. They'll set up a time and date to do that interview there. Never heard anything back. And so now I'm a little bit worried. And I'm thinking, I'm in a shopping center, so right up here where I keep pointing, there's another whole other shopping center. It's Harbor Freight, Dollar General, a dollar store, not Dollar General, but I think it's called Mighty Dollar, and beauty shops, women's clothing shops, pizza place, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of those places have signs up that say now hiring, apply inside, which is a good sign for me, because when I apply online, that decreases the odds of me getting a job based on my past experience. My numbers may not be right in this case, but I don't feel like I'm deceiving you when I say this. 9 times out of 10, if I apply online, I don't get the job. 9 times out of 10, if I apply in person, I get the job. So that might be different now, because I do have breasts. I do have, people might look at my face and say, you look like you might be taking hormones, or are you a man or a woman? What's going on? So it might not be the same now if I apply in person. So today I was thinking about that. I was thinking I should just go ahead and go apply for those jobs. But something inside me said, no, that's not what you want. And so then there's that conflict of, well, I need to be disciplined, and being disciplined means doing things you don't want to do. And but then to go back to what I was just saying before about, don't worry about tomorrow. You're getting the job because you're thinking about applying for the job because you're thinking that you're going to run out of money. And basically doing the same thing you've been doing for the last 30 years. I started working at 16, I'm 46, so for 30 years I've been kind of doing this thing here. And so that's where I was just kind of like, what do I do? What do I do? I came back to the bus. Was I in the bus the whole time? I think I didn't even leave the bus. What am I talking about? But I sat down in the mirror, put my wig on, and just started trying to resolve this gender thing. Even though right now I don't have a job, and I don't currently have a plan for getting a job. Aside from, like I said, like the fact that I've applied for a job at QT. I do have options. But right now I'm not sure that I'm going to go apply for a job. And I was going, when I started the video, not this one, but the one before it, which this was meant to replace because that one got cut short. The idea that I had in mind was to talk about this whole thing of being dragged, kicking and screaming into life. I think I mentioned it already, the quote from the Bible, the small is the gate and narrow the path that leads to life, and they are few who find it. I've always felt like that was my fate. My fate was to find life, and to some extent, feeling like that's a fate I can't avoid. I'm still not sure, like I told you about my Christian interpretation of the Christian doctrine and about what it means to accept the will of God or not accept the will of God. But then there are times when I think I don't even have a choice, that is my fate. My fate is to accept the will of God whether I like it or not. It's like the story of Oedipus, where it's like that's what I was born to do, and I can't, even if I mean not to, I'm still going to end up doing that. And so that's what I mean by life dragging me, kicking and screaming into itself, that I may be fighting against life. It's kicking and screaming, but life is going to get what it wants one way or another. And but what is the one thing that I seem to be fighting against the most? I would say it is the gender thing, the thing that I seem to be avoiding the most, the thing that I seem to want to run away from the most is the ginger thing. And that seems to be the fate that I want to avoid. And like I said, I do feel like if I resolved that issue, then the rest of my life would be just like running smooth as just running water over fucking rocks. But you know, like I have maybe $100 in my bank account, maybe a little bit more. If I got a job today, I wouldn't get paid for another week. Likely, I could probably find a job somewhere that pays by the day. Actually, I probably could if I got a job at IHOP. There's IHOP right up the street. If I got a job there as a server, I could get paid that same day, but through tips. So I could go apply right now. It is literally 150 yards away. I would have to apply online, which means going up to the Starbucks to use their Wi-Fi, or going to buy a cable so I can use my own Wi-Fi. I paid $50 yesterday to have my own Wi-Fi, but then lost the cable to charge my Wi-Fi device. And so right now I would describe myself as frustrated. If I have not said it already, I feel just frustrated. I feel like pulling my hair out. Sometimes I feel like killing myself, and it's just because I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I have so many decisions to make. So maybe I shouldn't be a manager at Walgreens. I don't know if I said it in this video or just the previous one. I applied for a job at Walgreens, and Walgreens sent me an email back saying I'm not qualified to work at their store. That is disastrously crazy. That is like the sign of the end times. When I am not qualified to work at Walgreens, what job do they have at Walgreens that I could not do aside from working in the pharmacy? I have no knowledge of pharmacology, but when it comes to being a cashier or being a manager or whatever else, what other jobs do they have there? I didn't apply for a pharmacy job. That's the sign of the end times right there. That's I'm like, that is just That is fate saying you need to forget about this fucking job stuff. uh, is that a bad situation? Is that a good situation? Maybe it's good that I didn't get the job at Walgreens.